Welcome to another Explainer. Today we're diving into what's arguably the most consequential debate of our modern era, a literal collision of worldviews. I'll be taking the skeptical, secular perspective here, because from where I sit, humanity, fueled by rapid technological advancements, AI, and biotech, is finally evolving past this ancient need for God. And I'll be taking the Christian intellectual perspective, because while technology is absolutely incredible, this purely materialistic pursuit, trying to engineer a utopia without any divine foundation, is actually driving us into a profound crisis. So we're going to rigorously debate both sides today, breaking down the logic, the science, and the deep philosophy.
Right, so let's start with where secular transhumanism is actually taking us. Historian Yuval Noah Harari captures this perfectly. He suggests that human beings are essentially becoming hackable animals. The ultimate goal of the 21st century isn't just making life a little easier, it's literally to solve the problem of physical death and turn humans into gods. From my perspective, AI and science are actively engineering the paradise, the omniscience, and the immortality that religions only ever promised. I mean, why pray for eternal life when we're on the verge of engineering it in a lab?
It's an incredibly ambitious vision, I'll give you that, but it brings us to a massive underlying question. Are we really outgrowing God, or are we simply engineering our own meaninglessness? Think about it. If we reduce human beings to mere machines or animals that can just be hacked, we trigger a profound existential crisis. We might be gaining this immense godlike technological power, but we are entirely losing our fundamental why.
Let's get into Section 1, AI versus consciousness and the meaning crisis.
Psychiatrist Dr. Ian McGilchrist points out something really fascinating. For the last 500 years or so, Western society has heavily favored a left-brain approach to the world. It's highly rationalist, narrow, and reductionist. We become absolutely obsessed with analyzing the mechanics of exactly how everything works. But in the process, we've neglected the right brain functions, the side that comprehends the big picture, context, beauty, and ultimate meaning.
So basically, we know exactly how the physical universe operates, but we've completely stripped away the meaning of why it exists in the first place.
Exactly. We have these hyper-advanced tools, but at the exact same time, unprecedented levels of societal loneliness and despair.
Well, isn't that just a temporary gap? Many materialists assume AI will eventually become so complex that it'll just wake up and achieve true consciousness.
That assumes consciousness is just complex data processing, though. And that ignores what philosophers call the hard problem of consciousness. Machines simulate intelligence perfectly, sure, but they lack qualia, that subjective, internal experience of things. The redness of a rose, or the sharp sting of grief. Science, because it's restricted purely to physical processes, still cannot explain why human beings actually experience emotions rather than just functioning like dark biological algorithms.
But if we are just complex biological algorithms shaped by unguided evolution, that physical process is entirely sufficient to explain how the human mind developed.
See, that leads to a massive philosophical collision. If our minds are strictly the result of blind physical processes, we have to ask a really tough question. Can purely material processes actually produce trustworthy reasoning?
Which brings us to Section 2, the epistemological crisis.
Philosopher Alvin Plantinga formulates this brilliant test for the materialist worldview called the evolutionary argument against naturalism. In a strictly material view, beliefs are just physical, neurophysiological events happening in your brain. But here's the catch. Evolution by natural selection only selects for behaviors that help an organism survive and reproduce. It doesn't actually care about objective truth. Wait, so if unguided evolution is the only mechanism at play, our brains evolved strictly to help us, say, flee a tiger, not to discover the objective truth of the cosmos? Precisely. There is no mathematical or logical guarantee that our cognitive faculties evolved to reliably find truth. Evolution rewards survival, not philosophy.
And hey, this isn't just some modern critique. Charles Darwin himself struggled with this. It's an anxiety known as Darwin's doubt. He worried deeply about whether the convictions of a human mind, developed from lower animals purely by chance and survival, could be trusted at all. The argument here is that atheism paradoxically undermines the very rationality, logic, and scientific trust required to believe in atheism in the first place.
C.S. Lewis captured this beautifully. He argued that trusting unguided, random chemical collisions in the brain to produce ultimate truth is a lot like upsetting a milk jug and hoping the splash gives you an accurate map of London. It just doesn't make sense. Rationality itself requires a foundation beyond random physical processes. It points to a rational mind behind the universe to validate our own reasoning.
Okay, let me stop you right there. Because if there really is an ultimate, rational, perfectly good mind behind the universe, we have a major problem.
If God is perfectly good and completely omnipotent, why do innocent children suffer? How can you sit there and claim that supreme rationality and a loving God exist alongside horrific human suffering, bone cancer, natural disasters, and absolute tragedy?
Let's tackle that in Section 3, the crucible of suffering. This is without a doubt the hardest question of all, commonly known as the classic problem of evil. And the logical tension here is just glaring. If God is all-powerful, all-knowing, and perfectly good, how can evil exist? If God can stop evil but doesn't, is he actually good? If he wants to stop it but can't, is he actually all-powerful? These conditions simply cannot coexist without a massive logical contradiction.
I completely acknowledge the deep emotional weight of this objection. A rigorous intellectual approach demands real epistemic humility here. But philosophically, thinkers like Eleanor Stump provide a crucial framework. True union with God requires the free exercise of will. Forced love is a logical impossibility. Free will is the necessary cost for genuine love, genuine morality, and human dignity. Giving humans the genuine freedom to choose good intrinsically means giving them the freedom to commit evil. A world with genuine free will but without the possibility of suffering is logically impossible, even for an omnipotent being.
But the Christian worldview shifts the paradigm entirely from there. It asks a really profound question. What if God hasn't remained distant? The core claim of Christianity isn't some cosmic clockmaker who just watches tragedy unfold from afar. It's a God who became human in the historical person of Jesus, entered into the absolute depths of human suffering, and participated in it to defeat it from the inside out.
Moving on to Section 4, Religion versus Radical Grace. I have to push back hard on religious exclusivity here. Even if I accept a creator, isn't faith just an arrogant, merit-based system? Following arbitrary rules to appease a cruel deity, tipping the scales of good deeds just to avoid hell?
Well, that is exactly how most merit-based religions operate, right? Do enough good deeds to outweigh your bad deeds. But true Christianity is the exact opposite of that. It's based entirely on radical grace. Acceptance isn't the reward you get at the end of a perfect moral performance. It's freely given at the very start, based entirely on what Christ has done. It's fundamentally about a relationship, not some religious checklist.
Okay, but you're making pretty sweeping theological claims. Where is the actual historical, rational evidence to support this specific worldview over literally any other? Apologists point straight to the historical reality of Jesus of Nazareth. C.S. Lewis famously proposed the historical trilemma. Given the historical records that Jesus unequivocally claimed to be God, logic dictates only three possibilities. He was deliberately lying, making him a liar. He falsely believed it, making him a lunatic. Or he was telling the exact truth. The theist argues that a rigorous look at the historical context logically points directly to that third conclusion.
All right, Section 5, Hope in a Material World.
Let's bring this all back to the present day. In an era of staggering technological acceleration, artificial general intelligence, space exploration, do modern humans really need this ancient worldview? Well, there's a fascinating irony here. Think about it. Transhumanists are frantically trying to use technology to engineer a utopia and defeat physical death. But the Christian argues that the resurrection isn't just some ancient myth. It is the ultimate, already accomplished solution to that exact transhumanist goal. And crucially, it addresses the underlying human sin problem that corrupts all our technological tools. Humans consistently use good tools for bad purposes, and that is something AI simply cannot fix.
Because without an objective foundation, our search for justice, our capacity for love, our desperate need for meaning, it's all just a biochemical illusion. Philosopher Michael Roos puts it perfectly. If we are all in an illusion, then it makes no sense to talk of illusion, for we have no touchstone of reality to make absolute judgments. We absolutely need a touchstone beyond our physical brains to validate our deepest human experiences of morality and purpose. So the ultimate question remains, are you trusting an unguided material process for your meaning? Or is there a bigger picture waiting to be explored? Whether you lean toward a trust in human engineering and material science, as I often do,
or you lean toward a faith in divine grace and rational design, the foundation of your worldview will entirely shape how you view the future of human dignity.
Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer.
Keep asking the hard questions and keep exploring.